Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. A lot of controversy surrounding a new decree in Syria. It's called the Decree number 16, which calls for the organization of the religious practices in Syria. I'm reading a lot of commentary and a lot of criticism about it, but in the Western or in the English media, I haven't seen somebody who is explaining this decree to the people, because in my opinion, this decree is very important for the secular future, or the future of secularism in Syria. First of all, this decree was prepared by the Ministry of Endowment, and it was organized between different personalities within the ministry, also in cooperation with other legal personalities. In practice, or in principle, the decree calls for fighting the Takfiri ideas. The decree names the Muslim Brotherhood and Wahhabism, and the decree calls for fighting these ideologies and to stop the penetration of the Syrian society and the minds and the brains of the people through these terroristic ideologies. In my opinion, this is the positive aspect of the decree number 16, which tries to fight the sources of terrorism. It overlooks and, let's say, controls for example, the books, controls the religious content in the media. It controls a lot of activities going on in Syria, whether it is cultural, religious, and in other aspects. It only controls the religious activities within these activities, let's say. For example, in the media, if there is a religious program, the Ministry of Endowment controls this program and tries to see whether or not the teachings and what's been spoken in this program suits let's say, the Islam that is moderate, that is not radical, and that doesn't call for violence, and doesn't call for terrorism, and doesn't call for racist stuff against other communities, for example. So this is one of the jobs of the Ministry of Endowment after the adoption of Decree number 15. The other positive, for example, aspect of the decree is that there would be representatives of the ministry, and they are following the preachers, the sheikhs, the imams, who are speaking in the mosques, and they will try to see whether or not these people are following the lines that the Syrian government has drawn for them, because I mean, it's obvious that the Syrian crisis started from the mosques, and a lot of imams called for jihad, and they were influenced by the Wahhabism and the Muslim Brotherhood, and there wasn't enough control for the speeches of these sheikhs. Now the government will practice control and monitor among all mosques, and I don't know if it will succeed or not, because personally I'm not a big fan of the Minister of Endowment. I'm not a big fan of his son, who is also who has also a role in this religious practices in Syria, and I will I will tell you what his role is, which is he is heading a club. It's called the youngsters, the religious club, something like that. It's a club for the young clerics. And according to the minister, that this club will try to connect the old generation, the new generation and the old generation of imams and the clerics together in order to produce better, well-developed or modern Islamic rhetoric. The decree in this regard yeah, if you read it, you understand that there is an attempt to curb future radicalization and future penetration of certain ideologies, namely the Muslim Brotherhood and the Wahhabism. However, on the other hand, the Ministry of Endowment will have, for example, a committee, and this committee will have hundreds of clerics, and they will be distributed in all over Syria to monitor and follow the religious practices. Now, this should be explained to the people what the role of this committee, because a lot of people in Syria, they are saying that this is similar to the committee in Saudi Arabia, which is called the Nahi an al-Ma'ruf and Nahi an al-Munkar. I don't know, this committee, they enforce the Sharia laws in the streets of Saudi Arabia, and they strict interpretation of the Wahhabism. But yesterday the ministry was in an interview with Al-Ikhbariyya Suriya, he refuted these allegations and said, no, this is not the duties, but they should explain it. I mean, the Syrian people has the right to be panicked, has the right to be afraid, because the people who fought with the Syrian government or stood or supported the Syrian government, the majority or most of them, they did it because they are in favor of secular Syria. Now they are concerned that one of the strengths of Syria would be stripped by the Ministry of Endowment. There are also this as I mentioned, the son of the minister who heads the youngsters club. There are a group of clerics in this club, and other people can join it, but the thing is, for example, the people who join this club, they won't serve in the army, and the Islamic education that they have in the Islamic institutions, it will be equivalent to the Syrian baccalaureate, and they would be free of taxes, and there would be jobs for them and all this stuff. So it's basically encouragement for people, youngsters in my age, to go and join this club, instead of encouraging people more and more to join secular activities. I mean, a lot of controversial articles surround in this decree. In my opinion, this decree should be edited, and the thing is, the Syrian parliament needs two-thirds of the Syrian parliament need to veto, say we completely reject it, or in order to edit it, they also need two-thirds of the parliament. And if the Baas party mobilizes its forces and say, no, we want this decree, that means it's over. It will be implemented in Syria. I'm not saying that we need to abolish this decree, because we need in Syria a certain level of control and monitoring to the activities and the speeches of the imams and the clerics, and to produce a certain rhetoric, Islamic rhetoric, that suits the 21st century, that calls for peace, harmony, unity, even secularism. I mean, in Syria, I believe one of the pillars for the steadfastness of the Syrian people and the Syrian state is because a lot of people believe in secularism. So we shouldn't deprive this from this strength from Syria. The other thing is the minister himself is a controversial personality, and he had some controversial statements before. I'm not going to dive deep in. So if the ministry is going to monitor what the clerics are saying, in my opinion, there should be another ministry or another institution or people watching and following and monitoring the work of the ministry itself. I'm not personally a big fan of the Minister of Endowment. I have nothing personal against him, But I'm a big defender of the secular values, and I want all Syrian people to be equal in their rights and their duties. I wanted to, for example, abolish the Article 3 of the Syrian Institution, which says the Syrian president should be Muslim. I wanted to improve the civil code of Syria and abolish a lot of, not a lot of, but some of the laws that their sources are from the Sharias. In Syria, in the civil codes, most of the laws are civil laws, but also we have some laws, the source of them is from the Sharia. So we wanted a better secular system. We were already, we were not 100% secular, but we reached a certain level that no Arab state in the region, in exception to Tunisia, had such a good social system. So instead of improving it, people have the feeling that we are going one step behind. And some people are saying that the Syrian government is trying to embrace the Islamists. We have an Arabic saying that says a dog that is barking with you is better than a dog barking against you. So some people say that this decree tries to embrace the Islamists and contain their danger, and try to decrease the danger in their presence, whether physical presence or their in their speeches and all this stuff. We have to agree the fact that in Syria we have these Islamists. We have this. I mean, it's a reality. They are here. A lot of them hold arms. A lot of them called for killing. Now it's time, after this reconciliation, to try to assimilate these people in the Syrian society once again. And it seems this decree wants to do it. Are we going to succeed in this? I'm not sure. I have no big, I'm not a big fan, as I mentioned, for the minister and the ministry. But since President Assad agreed on this decree, now let's see the MPs in the parliament if they will agree as well. But according to a lot of sources, this decree was well studied, and President Assad agreed it, and he has the belief that this decree will decrease the level of radicalism in Syria, and this is the religious aspect of fighting terrorism in Syria, and there could be other decrees. Such as in education, in culture, in other ministries, the higher education, etc., who would have similar decrees in order to have a comprehensive project to reconstruct not only what has been destroyed in Syria, but also to reconstruct the human in Syria, because the source of the destruction in Syria was the people, the human beings. I mean, we always blame the outside powers. Yeah, the outside powers had such a negative influence in Syria, but also underground, some people in Syria, they agreed to play this role. So it's the role of the state to stop this and to curb future wars in Syria. Let's see if this will succeed or not. I'm not 100% optimistic, but we have to give a chance, in my opinion, to see whether or not this decree will work. If it didn't work, I'm not saying we have to wait for another war. We can wait 1 or 2 years and see how it's functioning underground, because any decree, you can issue any decree, it could work, it couldn't work, it could have a positive consequences or not. So let's see how it's gonna work. And if I find that this decree is not working well and it's having a negative impact and it's destroying secularism in Syria, you will find me the first person criticizing it harshly and calling for its abolishment. So this was an attempt to explain the decree 16 to the people. It's around 40 pages, and I'm not gonna speak specifics every article what it says, but just in general what is it about. And because my duty for you in Syrian analysis not only to speak about the foreign issues but also the domestic issues, so you guys have a comprehensive idea of what's going on in Syria. Now I'm doing this video from my new place. The decoration is not fully yet now, but I have at least some lights and the microphone. And in the next episodes, I hope I will try to build a lot of things. But you know, if you guys live in Germany, you know that person that moves from one place to another needs tens of papers and signatures and stuff. So I'm running from one office to another to finish all this stuff, and hopefully we'll finish it this week and try to build some decoration behind me and yeah, better content. And if you like my content, hit the like button, subscribe, and all this stuff, you know, share and everything. And if you want to become my patron, and support me financially for $2 per month, you can find all the links in the description below. See you next time.